Pitas District Education Assistant, Islamic Learning Unit, Education Sector of PPD Pitas.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين على سبيله نستقيم والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا الآمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, praise to be God, the Lord of hosts, and pray for us, O Lord, and bless us. Ya Allah, on this meaningful day, we gather with a full sense of gratitude on the blessing of health, well-being, peace, and prosperity that you have bestowed. Ya Allah, the most merciful, in conjunction with the SPN English Answering Technique program, we ask you to simplify our affair so that this program take place in an orderly manner and all these objectives are achieved. Ya Allah, the most merciful God, nurture in us a sense of love, affection, joy, responsibility, and a spirit of mutual respect for few human beings. Give understanding to the student who attend the program this evening so that they can master the technique taught easily and subsequently achieve success. Ya Allah, grant us the strength and health to continue to contribute devotional service wherever we are. Protect us from negative things, slander, strife, and from all evil. May we feel safe, calm, and productive in carrying out our duties. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you to Ustaz Razal for the prayer recitation just now. Good afternoon, and salam sejahtera. Salam PPD Pitas. Excellent, agree to change, determined to excel. Greetings to young berusaha, Mr. Norman Ismail of the Deputy PPD Educational Sector of PPD Pitas. All principal, our speakers, Madam Carmela Sukim, Language SIC class for Pitas District, Senior Assistant Teacher, Head of English Panel, Committee Member of Bengkel Teknik Menjawab, fellow English teachers, and all students. To officiate our program this afternoon, I would like to welcome Yang Berusaha, Mr. Norman Ismail, the Deputy PPD Educational Sector of PPD Pitas, to give an opening speech and remarks.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi ajmain. Terima kasih pengurusi pengacara majlis. Salam JPN Sabah hebat. Katakan tidak kepada nombor 16. Katakan iya kepada nombor 10. Salam DPD Pitas Cemerlang. Sepakat berubah, tekad cemerlang. Dalam sektor pembelajaran, berfokus dan berimpak tinggi. Alhamdulillah, syukur kepada Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Program teknik menjawab peperiksaan untuk subjek bahasa Inggeris peringkat PPD Pitas dapat dilaksanakan pada petang ini. Kami bagi pihak PPD Pitas ingin merakamkan ucapan ribuan terima kasih yang tidak terhingga kepada Puan Carmela Sukim, SISC Plus bidang bahasa, yang berusaha melaksanakan program ini, dan kami juga merakamkan ribuan terima kasih yang tidak terhingga kepada Cikgu Binsos Omisang, guru bahasa Inggeris daripada SMK Kanibungan Pitas dan Teams kerana berkongsi ilmu kepada pelajar-pelajar pada hari ini. Sesungguhnya mata pelajaran bahasa Inggeris ini merupakan subjek yang penting, bukan hanya semata-mata untuk mencapai kecemerlangan dalam SPM, tapi yang paling penting ialah bahasa Inggeris ini adalah bahasa komunikasi. Sebaik-baiknya perlu dikuasai oleh semua pelajar. Kami mengharapkan supaya semua pelajar, sama ada pelajar dari daerah Pitas atau semua pelajar di negara ini, dapat memanfaatkan ilmu yang ada. Mudah-mudahan ilmu yang dikongsikan oleh Cikgu Binsos ini akan memberi kecemerlangan kepada anda dalam peperiksaan SPM sesi 2021. Sekali lagi, kami ingin mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih atas kejayaan penganjuran pada petang ini. Sekian, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
A senior English teacher and observer at KPMCFR trainer and well versed with Google Apps and functions. He is a Google certified educator level 1 and level 2. Now, I welcome our speaker, Mr. Binsos bin Omisang of SMK Kanibungan Pitas. If you have any question, please type your question on the live chat. Please, Mr. Binsos.
Thank you, Val. Thank you, Val. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Puan Melati Lajim, the Pitas District Education Officer, Puan Carmila Sukim, the SC Plus personnel who is responsible for looking after this live streaming, and not to forget also to Tuan Nur Mansur Ismail, the Deputy Officer of PPD Pitas. This program is actually the brainchild of him, and big thumb up for you, sir. Okay, for today's hearing, it's about the English paper 2 in general. But I have to divide this into 3 parts because I'm afraid that if I'm going to say it in one go, then it will be too long and nobody wants that it to happen. So there's another 2 parts coming in. The second week of October, the part 1, and the last part will be on the 4th week of October at the end of the month. So here is the first slide. Okay. What you can see here is the overview of the entire paper that you are going to sit for this year. You will be tested in 4 different areas. They are Kertas 1, or 1119/1, paper 2, 1119/2, paper 3, and paper 4. In general, the paper 2 is about assess you on reading and the use of English, while the paper 2 is for writing, and paper 3 assessment is for speaking, and the last one, paper 4, is for listening. In the paper 1, you will get 40 marks, and in the paper 2, you will get 60 marks. Meanwhile, paper 3 had 24 marks, and paper 4 came with 30 marks. However, at the end of all 4 papers have the same weightage, 25 marks each. Therefore, the writing test is the toughest of all the 4. To score well, you need to fully understand the definition of the writing assessment and how the writing test is to be assessed. For SPM this year, the assessment criteria are fully aligned with the Common European Framework of Reference for Language, CEFR. All the tasks have been fully developed in accordance with the CFR descriptors and the features of performance which they ascribe to a different proficiency level. There's a 7 main level, The first level is the PA1, the A1, the A2, B1, B2, C1, and C2. Complementing this are the so-called plus level, A2 plus, B1 plus, and so on, which describe the performance of the upper end of given level. Language ability at each level is described using a series of can-do statements. A2 indicate the basic ability to communicate and exchange information, while for C2, the level of mastery indicate the capacity of deal with material academically or cognitively demanding. And the assessment, now let's say for the assessment skill. Okay, if you look into this slide here, this is the SPM assessment. Part 1 are actually the SPM assessment skill are actually unextended version of the UPSR and PT3 assessment skill. That means it's not new for you, because for the part 1, it's the same with the UPSR part 3 and also for the PT3 part T. So the part 1 should be no problem for each student if you want to answer them during the exam. The part 1 scale is focused on the A2 CFR level, and the part 2, as you can see in the slide, focused on the B1 CFR level. Part 3 scale is focused on the B2 CFR level, and now if you look at the task, once again, the task scale, you know that the task 1 is not that too difficult for you to answer. Meanwhile, the task 3 needs you to prepare yourself for much more difficult question. Okay. Now, as you already understood the level of task awaiting you, then I shall introduce you with the task itself. This slide is an overview of the all tasks in writing assessment comprising of 3 parts. The part 1, the task type here is the short communicated message or an email actually, and the number item that you have to answer for this is 1, and the extended CEFR level for this task is A2. Meanwhile, the second part of the guided writing is an essay, which number of question is only one, that means it's an obligatory question and you have to answer it. And student must answer this task 1. Extended CFR level for this is B1, and the last part is extended for 3. Okay. Meanwhile, the assessment focus for this CFR will be on 4 different parts, namely 4 different parts. However, the focus is actually divided into 2 categories only. The first one is the content, and the second one is the communicative language competency, which has been divided into 3 again, which is communicative achievement, organization, and language. For this first part, the content of the assessment is how the student respond to the question, how the fulfillment of task requirement by the student, and the communicative achievement, the student will be tested and how appropriateness, genre, format, register, and tone the assessment. Then for organization, actually, we just want the task want to see how the text is put together in terms of coherent, cohesive, paragraph, and punctuation. Okay. Let's go to the for content deeper. For marking rubric, if you can see the slide shown in your screen, we are now in the marking rubric for SPM writing part 1. Actually, to get a good score is not that so difficult for this, because what we need for content, if your content, when you answer the question, is relevant to the task and the target reader is fully informed, and you can produce straightforward ideas using convention of the cognitive task reasonably and appropriately by using a simple connector and basic vocabulary, you can score 5 here. For students who have some issue with English, or maybe in the level of maybe you can score at the level of 3. And actually to score this is also quite easy, because as long as you can, the target reader is informed with minor omission, you can produce a text, and your text is connected using basic and high frequency connector and basic vocabulary, you already can score 3. So I don't think that you need to too much worried about the task 1. Okay. Here is the sample question for task 1. Okay, can we go to the next slide, please? Aha. Okay. This is a sample question taken from the KPM. And if you look into the screen, okay, for this, you only have the part 1. This is the question for part 1 in close-up. Is it? If you see this, I don't think that students have problem answering them, because the question is straightforward, and as I told you, that if you can answer this task accordingly and the target reader is informed by using the basic connectors and so on, you can answer. You can get a good mark for this. Okay, let's move to the second, the next slide. This is the close-up of the question itself. If you want to, you can read it. This one is taken from the KPM itself, and I think that this is, as you can see, the question is not so tough. Let's go to the next slide, the sample question for part 2 of the assessment itself, before we are talking about the rubric. Okay, sorry. The slide in front of your screen now is actually the template where you are going to write your email. Okay, the next slide show you one of the sample. Okay, this is the sample question for part 2. Okay, this question require a student to answer, and you have to write your answer around 125 to 150 words. And actually this one is a guided writing, and you have to answer it based on the question here. If you read the question, and then this one will be focusing on level B1, and this one also actually not that difficult to answer. What you need to do is you need to devise some kind of strategy technique to answer this question. And here is the close-up for the question itself. And the next slide is where actually I want to share with you the writing part assessment skill, how actually you can get a good mark for this. Okay, for SPM writing part 2, to get a score of 5, your content must be relevant to the task. That means if you are asked to how to give an advice, if you were asked to give opinion, and then you should give advice or opinion. For communicative achievement, as long as you are using the convention of the communicative task to hold the target reader and straightforward ideas appropriately, and generally your text is well organized and coherent, you will get a good mark for organization. And the use of range of everyday vocabulary and some less common lexicons, which will give you a good mark. While for much weaker student, actually you still can score in this part by making sure that your answer is relevant to the task. Examiner will not penalize you for answering this too long or too short, as long as the content is relevant and readable and generally well organized. So the part 2 also not that too difficult to answer. And now we will go to the next slide, sample question for part 3. Okay. For this part, you will be given 3 types of question. There's 3 choices actually. The first choice should be an article And the second one is the new entry, a new introduction for SPM. It's about review. And the last one is you're going to write a story or sometime an article for a school magazine or any other place. So I don't think that this one is the toughest among all the questions given compared to the part 1, part 2. Part 3 is the most toughest. And to get score from this, you have to really do well. Let's look the close-up of one of the question that was actually a screenshot from the KPM itself. This is the first type of question 3, and it's about writing an article. You have been given a few clues on what to write on, and your article will be displayed in school magazine. To answer this, you need at least, you have to give some introduction. Where's the canteen? What kind of food that you don't like there, and what kind of food that should be served in the canteen that you have to write in all in your article. And the next sample is the review, and this is actually a new introduction. And for me, I always remind my student to do the review all the time, because I think that review is from these three sample given here. Review actually are the most easiest one to answer, because the pattern, the genre, the register for this is the same. Okay, so I encourage my students to learn how to do the review, and I hope that all the students out there who will be watching live for this session, you also try to understand, try to do a lot of exercise on how to write a review, because I think that the review is from the three sample given here. Review is the easiest one. So for you, for those people, for the student, maybe for the student, for those that are watching this live, I hope that you try to pay attention with the review. You try to get some kind of, try to learn how to write the review, because as I told you before, that from these three samples given here, review is quite the easiest to answer. And for the last question from this part 3, last choice is about an essay, and this one also can be answered if you have a lot of reading. So how the scoring rubrics for this part 3? If you compare all the scoring rubric from part 1, part 2, and part 3, you will find that to score well in this, you need to be really good. For content, from part 1 to part 3, actually the content is still the same. Or the content is, as long as the content is relevant to the task and the target reader is fully informed, you can get a good mark for content. But for communicative achievement, look at the difference between the two. For communicative achievement, for level 5, part 3, you must effectively hold the target reader attention and communicate with ease, fulfilling all the communicative purposes. For organization, also quite difficult to achieve actually for weaker student, because you need to have to write a text which is well organized and coherent, using a variety of cohesive devices with generally good effect, and to actually to divide the student which is good and weak student. Normally we can find it in the language assessment. To score well in here, you must use a range of vocabulary that is including less common lexis appropriately, and your grammatical also you must have good control and flexible with your uh, complex and simple grammatical. And even though that you might write some errors and slip, but it's never actually hindered the target reader's attention. So that is actually, I don't know whether my explanation to you is good enough or not, but if for those students who have a question, you can write your comment down below in the comment section. Please, you can write whatever that you want to ask on how the assessment skill, or maybe actually you want to try to ask for some other things as well, as long as for this sharing. Okay. Now, as I'm already finished talking about how the assessment actually to be done with the new the new SPM writing assessment, I will give you some tips for writing your SPM with the next slide. Okay. I will talk in length about this, because I know that a lot of students down there, a lot of students who might be watching this live session are afraid, or maybe don't have any kind of strategy or technique to answer writing tasks. Okay, this is my actually proven writing technique that has been all over the years. I had teach my students to use it, and actually this one is not new. Every student also can do the same. When you are sitting for your exam, as I told you, read the question over and over. Take time to read the question, understand the question. And once you understand the question from the three, I'm talking about the part, I'm talking more about the part 3 of the assessment. When you got your question, read them, understand it. Once you pick which question you are going to answer, you need to prepare a draft. Draft is very important. Without draft, you cannot move it. You cannot move. So the most important part in writing, the most important in respond to any writing task is preparing a draft. When you prepare a draft, it can help you to write better. And then don't try to write complicated words. Just use very simple words. Don't try to write a long words. Don't try to write a lot of compound sentences. Just use a simple sentence. But in variety, that's mean you can write as short sentences mostly, but you have to write some sentence, a long sentence as well, and some compound sentences as well, to show to the examiners that you are good. And then spelling, use correct spelling. When you're writing, most of the time I found my student did not write in correct spelling. So this one is very important. And to do well in spelling, there's no other option apart from you have to read books a lot. You have to read newspaper a lot. Try don't use medias. Try don't to write the same way you write in the media social. And then divide your time well. Please adapt to the 5W and 1H technique when you are writing your paragraph, because that is the simplest way to write a paragraph, by having this 5W and 1H. For the next session, I will be teaching you how to using the 5W and 1H to write a paragraph easily. And to get a good mark also, use some linking word, which is regularly used by in everyday use. And last but not least, in every writing, especially for the part 3, please add some idiom. If you cannot write a lot, you have at least 1 or 2 idioms in your writing. If you do this, I'm sure that you can pass your English SPM with flying colors. Okay. How to draft for SPM paper? Let's go to the next slide. How to prepare myself? Okay. This one also. Okay. This is how I teach my students in my school, and how to answer questions. Let's say the question that we are talking about is the question 3, which is required you to write an article. Step 1, when you receive the question, please identify the format of the essay and how many words you should write. This is very important because writing too long is no use, and writing too short also will be difficult for you to fully explain what you are going to write about. So just stick with the how many words you should write for the essay. For this question, before you're drafting, you have to make sure that your format is good. You know what is the format you are choose for. Like for this question, you are asked to write an article, and the length of the response should be 200 and 251. So divide your time. For drafting, don't spend too much. You need only around 5 minutes. After you finish your draft, in 30 minutes, you spend for writing, and the last 5 minutes is you spend for proofreading what did you write. Okay. When you are writing your draft, for the introduction, it's only 10% or 10% of the writing. And for this question, you are going to introduce where is your school located and how the student dislike or like the current food, and you explain a little bit of why the important to have a good food. The main ideas of your response should be around 80% of the writing, and you got to answer it based on your writing should be answers all the things that was asked in the guided writing itself, and the last 10% of your writing should be conclusion. So I think that's all is our setting for today. Let's go to the last slide. That's all. Before I ended this sharing, I would like to remind you that actually this is for this session actually. I don't know whether what I intended to talk to you understand fully or not, but you can always reach me by writing in the comment below, or for student and Pitas area, you can always contact me through my Facebook account, WhatsApp, and Telegram as well. Just find my name, Sinuban, and maybe I can help you to understand more or give you some more tips. Okay. The next part of this live sharing will be on the second week of October, and on the second part, I will be sharing, I will send with you more on how to tackle the question part 1 and part 2 using my my tips on how to write easily, and so you can benefit from that. And the last part will be on how to write longer essay, and my target is for the part 3. So before I end the sharing, I would like to once more again say thank you to Pon Carmila for actually behind the screen. So today, she is the one who is looking after this live streaming, and for all the my colleagues here also who have been so helpful along the way during the preparation until up to now. I'm very sorry because the line here is not good as well. I don't know whether you can hear my voice or not, but hopefully that more or less you have been benefited something with this talk today. So thank you. And the next is Q&A, question and answer session. And for this session, we have my colleagues here ready to help me answer things that maybe I forgot, or maybe somebody else want to ask, want to get more explanation, and even also on Carmela, the associate class also can help me to answer. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, well, I can hear your voice. Hello. It started raining here, so that's why maybe that is the reason why I can't hear your voice. This is the problem around Pitas. This is the problem in Pitas, yeah. We don't have a good line, good internet line. Whatever we are trying to doing, whether it is in live or we are teaching PDPR, online lesson, we always having this issue. We will try to continue. Hello, well. Yeah, we are still waiting for the we are still waiting for the question to coming in, and feel free to for your the attendance link is can be found in the chat room.
Okay, Mr. Ben.
Hello.
How about the word limit?
What
Can
do you
we
mean?
exceed the word limit?
Okay. Thank you, Well. Actually, for the new format of SPM, yeah, the word limit has been stated in the question paper itself. Let's say for the part 2, or for the part 2 is around 121 to 150. But student can write more or less. You won't get penalized by that. But for sure, if you write too long, and then you are going to waste your time. So please don't write too long. It's enough around 125 to 150, or maybe around 170, like that. For the part 2, and for part 1 actually is below 100. 80 should be enough. Around 80 words is enough. And for the part 3, the length of your essay is around below 250. But you won't be penalized if you write longer than that. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Okay, any other question, Well?
So the next session will be on the next session of
Okay.
writing.
One of the tip given is divide time where please elaborate. Okay. Because in the assessment, actually, the time given is only for 1 hour, 1.5 hours. So in 1.5 hours is actually consider is very short to answer all the three parts of the question itself. So that's why you need to divide your time well. For the part 3, actually, you have to spend around 40 minutes to finish it. And the part 2, it should be around 25 minutes. And the part 1, the shortest one or the easiest one, you would finish it around 15 minutes. Because writing an email to a friend is not so difficult to do. Okay. That's why you need to divide your time well. If you don't, and then you don't have enough time to write, enough time to answer all the questions. It's related with how long you are writing, how long you write. If you take, if you write too long and then you take time to finish it, and you know what happened. You won't get enough time to finish all the tasks, as you do. Okay. Any other?
Okay, this means that the tips of writing a good essay is to prepare a draft, use the simple words, correct spelling, divide time well, adapt the 5W and 1H, which is the WH questions, use linking words, and add some idioms. Okay, and this is will make sure that you, our students, will be able to answer the writing questions in the exams paper. Is it correct, Mr. Ben?
Of our setting for today. The writing paper SPM2 is you got a new writing paper assignment assessment, but based on the question given, based on the sample question given, actually, student no need to worry. You don't have to worry about that. It's quite easy, quite simple to answer. But you must have a lot of reading and did a lot of exercise yourself. Some students keep asking me where I can have a good book to doing exercise. My tips is please don't look to any other places or book to exercise with it. The best book that you can have is your textbook. For your information, all the questions are actually based from the book itself. There's a 12 title, there's a 12 topic from the book, and the books has been, the books is actually are good for you as a resources for get ready for your exam. The vocabulary, the grammar, and the reference of all the tasks there is enough for you to read. is enough for you in the books. So that is my tip. Read more of the book, your textbook. Read a lot of storybook, and at the same time, don't forget that you have to devise some kind of writing strategy. So my writing strategy, I think that I said today, I'm going to explain it further in the next session. So you can use that one also. As I'm always telling my student, you have to at least one strategy whenever you try to answer or writing a question. So to wrap up today's session is don't worry about the assessment rubric. What you need to do is to understand and to understand what type of question you are going to answer, and you have to understand as well about how to divide your time well during the exam, so you don't waste unnecessarily. And the last one is, I think, the best way to answer it by doing a lot of exercise, homework, and studying. So that's all from me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ben. Our speaker, Mr. Ben from SMK Kanibungan, Pitas. Last but not least, now let's welcome our Bonda, Madam Malatila Jim, the District Education Officer, PPD Pitas, to give out her speech.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Miss Valbina Kisin, our MC and moderator for today. Yang berusaha, Mr. Normansur Ismail, Deputy District Education Officer, Learning Sector, PPD Pitas. Puan Carmela Sukim, SISC Plus Bahasa, PPD Pitas, as the person in charge of language unit and organizer for this program. Our speaker for today, Mr. Binsos Omisang from SMK Kanibungan Pitas, all organizing committee members of SPM English Answering Technique, teachers, students, and all audiences. Salam PPD Pitas excellent, agreed to change, determined to excel. Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah for blessing us with good health that we can attend this program. We are aware that English has been one of our biggest weaknesses in Pitas, and this year we are faced with the new format of SPM. We understand the concern of our teachers, students, parents, and all stakeholders involved. Therefore, this program, which is a series of SPM English answering technique, is one of our efforts in helping our students to at least pass the SPM examination. It is also our hope that this program will benefit not only the students who are going to sit for their SPM this year, but also the Form 4 students, teachers, and everyone who are going to watch this later. So, congratulations and thank you to all students and teachers who are attending this program today for your commitment.
Okay, thank you, Bonda, for your lovely speech. As a reminder, please fill in your attendance through the pin link in the chat. Okay? Thank you for your attention in this Bengkel Teknik Menjawab today. Until we meet again next time.